This one's from the New York Times. Apurva Mandavili reporting, she said, a tripledemic, flu and other infections return as COVID cases rise. For more than 2 years, shuttered schools and offices, social distancing, and masks granted Americans a reprieve from flu and other respiratory infections. This winter is likely to be different. Cases of flu have begun to tick up earlier than usual and are expected to soar over coming months and weeks. Children infected with RSV, which has similar symptoms to cold and to flu and COVID, rhinoviruses and enteroviruses are already straining pediatric hospitals in several states. There's another article from the New York Times that we've got. We've got another one here from CNN, another one from Fox News. Like, everybody is talking about this tripledemic. Mm-hmm. I'm scared, Dante. I'm scared, Joey. What am I doing? Save me.
Yeah, I mean, I read through these same articles as you, and I just tried to look up, more in-depth information, and it comes down to basic things that do have some COVID overlap. Number one, we don't track illnesses like this, quick-moving illnesses like this very well in our country. Very fragmented in terms of how we report them. Is that going to make all the difference in the world if we knew exactly what RSV cases were doing in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh and Cleveland? No, but it at least does help you to know where the spikes are coming, where it's waning, how long this maybe version of it or this strain of it is lasting. So we don't really have that for any of these three major viral diseases. And right now they're trying to use wastewater and different things to try to catch up on that. But that's still kind of one of those underlying issues, is that we could at least be helped if we knew a little bit more real time.
So what is RSV, first of all?
So RSV is a virus. It is very contagious. It's very common. It's respiratory tract, so you're dealing with similar type issues to COVID. Signs and symptoms include, again, upper respiratory, infection type things, running nose, sneezing. The concern was whenever it gets lower respiratory tract, because you do deal with that as well. Other parallels to COVID, again, are the immunocompromised, and the one exact opposite is that children are very affected by this, and they're hospitalized by this. That would be one of the opposites, but again, you're still looking at the immunocompromised. One other thing that's interesting about this is that instead of it leading to bronchitis, which is more of the medium and large airways in the lungs, it leads to bronchiolitis, which are smaller airways. And really why this is called respiratory syncytial virus is the syncytia are basically just little connections and little groupings and fusions, I guess is a better word, of the infected cells. So you've got these little fusions coming together of infected cells and tissues and mucus, and that's really why it's prone to kind of clog some of the smaller airways. Okay. So it is serious, and it's common, but it's also serious. We're dealing with COVID and flu around, so it's not some more serious strain or anything like that. We're just again dealing with the new reality of having this third disease on board.
So and if I'm understanding correctly, I believe I read in one of these articles that most kids by the age of 2 have already had it.
Yes, it is that common. Yes,
that it's
most children,
virtually universal. And so the current problem that we're all seeing, problem in air quotes, I don't know, is that because of the extreme measures that were taken for COVID for the last 2 years, that a lot of kids didn't get it on time as they normally would.
Yeah, and the surge started in the summer.
Okay.
So there was an earlier surge. So that's, again, where the real-time tracking of how long is this lasting, because we're not in a COVID surge right now. So if this begins to wane, if we can tell that a little more accurately, that's going to be a big help from that standpoint. But yeah, back to the 2-year-olds and under, and they're really dealing with upper respiratory as they get a little older. That's when it could be the bronchiolitis, which is again getting the lower respiratory tract infections, which become a little scary, which lead to hospitalizations, because there's really no direct treatment it's all kind of supportive, trying to clear the airways if necessary. Oxygen, bed rest, those kind of things. So even when the kids are hospitalized, you feel like they're safe there, but you don't really feel, they're not getting anything cutting edge, so to say.
Wow.
There's also no vaccine for it. So
Okay.
I see the reason for the fear.
Yeah.
But again, this has been around forever. This is not any worse than it was. To me, it's about tracking it, being aware of it. So
there is it's real, it's a thing, but also there's a certain amount of sensationalism that's perhaps happening in the media.
Definitely.
That it's the same RSV that's been around as long as everyone at this table has been alive.
Yes.
And then everyone's grandparents and so on and so forth. Like this is a very old virus, but because of the unique sociological situation, we're seeing a unique spike in cases, and doctors are a little worried about overcrowding and things like that.
Well said. Yeah.
Okay.
And just, be aware, again, immunocompromised situations in kids and adults.
So with little kids in particular, and older, but in little kids in particular, I'm a dad. When should I be concerned about my baby that it's not just a cold, or even if it is RSV, that they're struggling? How do I know that it needs medical attention?
To me, it's really going to be about monitoring their breathing.
Okay.
You can even get some faster breathing. The term is alleviating me right now, but you can get some quicker breathing than normal. If you start to get any croup, things like that, and anything where the breathing seems labored, whenever again it becomes more lower than upper, is when you'd start to be concerned, because again you don't know what it is.
Right.
It could be a myriad of things. So when do you start being concerned for your kid? In any case, when things start moving down the track, so to say. So
it's the same traditional situation.
That's the way I view it. And I'm a dad too. Yeah. When it starts, when it's the coughing and the dyspnea, those are the things that concern me.
Okay, so this is good. That makes me feel much, much better. Cool. So what do? I don't want to get sick. I don't want my kids to get sick. What are the basics I can do to help short circuit the virus season this year?
Yeah, I don't see it being any different than past years. You got to have you got to have your kids in schools. Think the mask days are over, those kind of things. So just classic washing your hands, doing those types of things. I personally do give my kids, whenever we remember it's a battle a lot of times, but some vitamin D, some probiotics in the wintertime.
Okay.
Basic stuff, making sure they don't run outside, without coats, things like that. Real basic.
Yeah.
Because there's really not a whole lot that you can do. So washing of the hands, I do try to supplement a little bit those basic immune boosting things with them. And the other thing I do see here that at least that is worth a mention, when children do get it young, they do see that they are at risk for longer term asthma and allergy issues.
Okay.
So that would be one thing that would certainly give me some pause about it, and wanting to know what's going on in my town, what's going on in my city. And that's again back to where I started, which is unfortunately we don't do a great job in this country of knowing exactly where we are,
tracking all that stuff. Lifestyle wise, as far as avoiding viruses or staying healthy, anything different from just eat clean, exercise?
I think get
sunlight.
The other one that's obvious, I would say, is sleep.
Not
just for adults. That's
Absolutely.
Ultimately where you could become most susceptible to an illness like that, or potentially make it worse, is if you're not sleeping enough.